Drive it. Yes, sir. Go.
The clock is at 0, and another Ute game is in the books.
Utah's defense excellent, as those numbers showed you in starting games fast. Zero blitz. And out to the edge, it opens up, and a first drive score for Utah. Wayshawn Parker welcomes himself to the Utes with a 13-yard score. UCLA finally get off the field on a third down. 3 of 3 first drive, 4 of 4 overall for Utah. It's Snowden out the other way, weaving out of a tackle. He's got the first down. He jukes his way for a touchdown. Two-way sensation Smith Snowden has arrived for Utah with a touchdown. Utah doing this as a good run defense the last couple of years. Open touchdown. Dampier flies it in there to Lander Barton. All the defensive guys involved. Snowden and Barton both with touchdowns. Prides itself on being physical. They have all of Kyle Whittingham's time. And they got a push. Drive continues. Deflects it. And that is a touchdown. Anthony Woods out of the backfield. Scores against his former team. 4th and goal from the 2. Behind his tight ends, Dampier is in. Paying off the 4th down decision. 3-score lead for the Utes. Utah wide open man. Dalvin Bentley in for the score. And Utah pouring it on in Pasadena. With sack of the night. And this one's picked up. Utah forces its first turnover. And it's an interception for Trey Reynolds. And he carries a piggyback right inside the 3rd goal. It's Rogers turning his left. And he is in. Nikari Rogers, his first Utah touchdown. And the Utes pouring it on at the Rose Bowl.
All the reaction and post-game interviews. The Ute Postgame Show begins now on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome into your Ute Postgame Show, KSL Sports. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles.
The clock is at 0, and another Ute game is.
Difficulties. There were just so many highlights, Alex. I wanted to hear them twice.
We have to, because man, oh man. Utah back? Question mark. Feels like
43-10,
they're back.
Getting the win at the Rose Bowl. I'm speechless. I wanted to do this. I'm going to go through some words that I saw on social media, getting the reaction. Dynamic, the real deal, as advertised, hallelujah. One person said they were thanking Buddha. Another person posted a video crying real tears because Utah has an offense. All of that is because Utah has an offense for the first time in how long? It feels like years. I mean, that's how poorly last season went. This is crazy. I think I was very, very impressed with Devin Dampier. I guess that's how we'll start, right? Because that was the big question mark. How would Devin Dampier adapt to the Big 12, to this new team with Utah? How would Jason Beck and that marriage go with Kyle Whittingham? And it's only one game in, but dude, it's
so far so great.
It looked pretty special.
So far so great. Man, oh man, Devin Dampier. I think as advertised is one of the best way to put it. We knew what he was. We knew who he is coming in. The question was, how was it going to translate to Utah's offense, right? How was it going to translate to now being at the Power 4 level? And I think so far so good. You're off to a phenomenal start. Devin Dampier against UCLA looked absolutely incredible. The offense, one of the thing that really stuck out to me, and I'm sure we'll dive into it here more in just a second, is the fact that there was times last year where Utah would get in these 3rd and long situations. They would be on 3rd down, and it got to a point of the season where you didn't feel comfortable and you didn't feel confident that this team was going to be able to convert the 3rd down to keep the drive alive. Look at the 3rd down conversions in this game alone.
It's stupid. Stupid in a good way. But
it's stupid great. Yes.
17 on 3rd down for the Utes.
Man.
That is, you don't like them getting the third down 17 times, but I mean, if you're going to convert it at that rate, I mean, that shows what Jason Beck's all about. I mean, they did not have a ton of big chunk plays. I mean, it was really just paper cuts, just little, 3, 4, 5 yards a pop. You'll get a couple 6, 7, 8. I mean, you did have some longer plays, right? You had Merriweather with a 36-yard reception. You had some longer runs too. Andrews there in the fourth quarter had a 25-yard run, but really death by 1,000 paper cuts is what this offense looks like. And that really truly is what the spread RPO option is going to be. And I mean, it was executed to perfection. I'm sure that Kyle Whittingham, I mean, he might've been looking stone cold on the sidelines, but I'm sure internally that dude was,
he's ecstatic, man.
Ear.
He's ecstatic, and I think that he's going to be someone that I'm very, very curious to get his reaction here, hopefully momentarily from the postgame press conference. But I'm sure he is absolutely thrilled with what he saw tonight. Again, just being able to keep drive alive by converting. It's short pickups and short gains, but I mean the reality is if you get 4 or 5 plays or 4 or 5 yards a play. Yeah, that's going to equate to success. And I think that's what we saw tonight, right? It was short completions from Dampier. It was short gains, but it was enough to keep drives alive and keep drives moving. And that's probably why you see that 14-17. I think you put it perfectly, Christian. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. I think that's probably what we're going to see from Utah's offense this season.
Let's continue with Dampier before we get into other facets of the offense. 21-25 for 206 yards and 2 tutties. Again, 25 attempts. Sounds like a pretty meaty number. Sounds like a great completion percentage. And that's what this offense is designed for, high efficiency. Get the ball out fast. Your guys are going to run to the open spots on the field. You get it to them quickly, and they either fall down immediately or maybe pick up a yard or two. But, I mean, you're not asking these guys to go out and run a full route tree. You're not asking these guys to, you're not asking Dampier to drop back in and be a Joe Burrow or whatever. Like, this is a very efficient offense. And I'm assuming that this went about as perfectly to plan for Jason Beck as he could have asked for. I know they had 1 punt on the night, and other than that, I think all of their other drives ended in a score. So great.
That's as efficient as it gets, man. And that's phenomenal, right? And I know that there's probably a little bit of the feeling and the want to overreact to this performance, right? To overreact to what we saw offensively from Utah because of what we saw last season, because of the inefficiency that we saw in offense from Utah last season. And I think rightfully so, Utah fans have every right to overreact to this because it's something that you haven't seen with this Utah offense in what feels like forever, right? You go back to that 23 season and you have the Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes experiment, the 8-win season where you fall short of expectations because essentially Cam Rising couldn't play a single game that year. Then you fast forward to last season, the debacle that Kyle Whittingham puts it, right? The debacle from last year. And so it's a complete 180, a complete contrast. Tonight, I think they took advantage of a weaker, struggling UCLA side, and I think that's exactly how you wanted to start this season. We knew it was going to be a test. We knew it was going to be a great measuring stick for Utah to go to UCLA, to go to Big Ten country and play against a team from the Big Ten, to test yourself and to test this new offense out. And similarly to what we were talking about earlier, the test has been passed. Devin Dampier seems to be the real deal for Utah. And I think Utah fans can be excited and have every right to overreact to what they saw tonight from Devin Dampier.
And dude, it's not just Utah fans, it's national. I mean, I saw several national writers say, oh my gosh, Utah's back. Utah has an offense. Watch out, because this was crazy. I mean, Devin Dampier was as advertised. He was shifty. He was decisive. He was, he made really good throws, sidearm throws, great angles. That touchdown to Lander Barton even, I mean, getting out of the pocket, rolling to the side. Anytime he breaks the pocket, the defense has to force pressure on him because he is such a threat to run. Leonard Barton was wide open. So you're going to see a lot of that this year, and that was great. And that leads me to my next point. I was wrong about something. I had been saying that I was convinced the first play of the season was going to be a Devin Dampier quarterback draw. I was 100% convinced. How could I not see that it was going to be a screen to Smith Snowden?
Right. and that brings up to a whole nother point, right? Where there was questions and there was concerns that, this whole Smith Snowden and Landon Barton playing both ways. Was it a smokescreen? Was it legit? Was it real? Tonight showed that it is real. Smith Snowden playing both ways. I think at one point, they were putting the graphics up on the broadcast that he had more touches and more plays on offense than he did on defense at some points.
I believe he finished with more snaps on offense than he did on defense. The last time I saw a graphic, I think it said 18-13, and they pulled the starters not too long after that. So I can't imagine that he got a ton more snaps on defense after that graphic was up. But that was curious because only 13 plays on defense is not a lot for a dude. We know that he is an NFL talent at the nickel spot. So that I'm going to be curious to see how much of that we see going forward because he's a great player on defense, but obviously offensively he's giving you so much as well. So is he going to be a Travis Hunter where he's playing all the time? I know I hated that verbiage because Travis Hunter was such a unique player, but it's like, in one game in, Smith Snowden is giving you a lot on offense. And I liked what I saw from him. He ran the ball. He caught the ball. He did a lot of different things on offense. So
one game in, and Smith Snowden is your leading receiver. 6 receptions, 51 yards, the long of 80, average 8.5 per the receptions, but he is your leading receiver for the night.
That's crazy.
The next one was Tobias Merriweather on the one catch, had 36 yards, that late bomb from Dampier in the fourth quarter. And then from there, you have 5 catches from Bentley, who went for 31 yards, and then Buchanan 3 for 29. Ryan Davis, who came over with Jason Beck and Rogers and Dampier from New Mexico, didn't really hear his name at all during fall camp, and he ends up coming in and playing a big role in that third quarter, keeping that long drive alive. Like what I saw from Ryan Davis, man. Like what I saw, I think, overall, just from the receiving core. I know Smith Snowden is your leader, but figure out ways to get Tobias Merriweather more involved, and I think that you'll be good on offense as far as the receivers go.
Yeah, and that was a big question mark coming in because it's so heavily focused on the ground game, right? You don't know. And, they had receivers transfer out after the spring window, and we literally had no clue who the receivers were going to be for this offense. And, they showed out tonight. They showed, again, you're not asking these guys to go out and be the greatest college receivers ever. You need guys that can reliably find the open space on the field and catch the ball when it gets thrown to them. And hey, throw a block on the edge too. Like that. That's what you're being asked of as a Utah receiver this year. And it seems like they got a good group of guys. So I liked too, the versatility from the running back room. Look at how many dudes had a carry, right? You're seeing a lot of different guys carry the ball. Obviously, they went to some depth players late in the fourth quarter, but Devin Dampier led the way with 16 carries. Wayshawn Parker had 11. Nakari Rogers had 16 carries as well. Parker probably would have got some more, but he fumbled the ball. We know how Whit feels about that, right? But it was good to see Nakari Rogers take a decent load of that rushing attack, and he found the end zone. So, those 3 guys, I think, are going to be the majority. They're going to get the bulk of Utah's carries this season, and I would trust any of them to run the football at any given moment. We saw them do it on the goal line. We saw them do it in the middle of the field. We saw them do it anywhere. And it's going to be a really incredible offense, I think. It's so unpredictable. That's another word. Earlier I went with words that I saw. Unpredictable was another one, and I like it.
I think, it's amazing to see Wayshawn Parker because he's just a sophomore, man.
Yeah.
But you can already see that he has such a tremendous high ceiling.
Dude, he's got some wiggle.
Some of the moves that he made in this game was absolutely incredible. And I think that, there was obviously there's concerns that you lose a guy like Mekhi Bernard. There's concerns of who's going to step up and who's going to fill in that role. But I think you got your guy. And I think you got your guy for what they hope and for what I think Utah fans will be hoping for the next couple of years. And like I said, he's just a sophomore, but you can already see the high ceiling that Wayshawn Parker can potentially bring to this offense. He's nifty. He's got wiggle. He's swift. And he's patient too. He waits for that hole. And the second he sees it, the speed that he uses to attack that hole is amazing. And so Wayshawn Parker stood out to me. Nakari Rogers also stood out. Got a little bit more of had a little bit more carries, but that 1-2 punch is something that I'm very, very excited to see as the season goes on.
Flipping the script, chiming in, balanced offense and no season-ending knee injuries. That is, you better knock on some wood, buddy. But I agree. Balanced, yeah. We saw. We got to talk about that 20-play drive in the third quarter. I think that was chef's kiss, right? Like that is exactly what Kyle Whittingham wanted to come out and do. And I think looking back before this game, one of my biggest questions was Jason Beck has said that they're going to come up and be kind of higher tempo, no huddle. He didn't say high tempo. He said no huddle. And it's like, okay, that doesn't really fit with Kyle Whittingham, who likes to control the clock. So how is this going to work? And we saw on that 20-play drive, they went no huddle plenty of times, but they just slow, methodical, pop, pick you apart. Again, 1,000 paper cuts. Yep. They did a little bit of everything on that drive, and they got a lot of different people involved, including again Smith Snowden. Threw a nice little screen to him, got him out into some space, and I think he got the ball in back-to-back plays. It's just incredible. I can't really. I'm almost shocked at how well this went for Utah's offense. Like, just because of how last year went, like it doesn't feel like this was right on the table, but it actually happened.
And I think that's where, seeing a lot of the reaction online, I think that's where a lot of people are, is because of the way that last season went. There was this unexpected feeling to see Devin Dampier come out and be productive and be efficient and see this offense be efficient. I think it also helps a lot that UCLA had not that much film to go off of, right? This is a completely new offense. There is almost no returning players from last season, outside of the offensive line, which again we see. And how and why that's important is because there was a lot of talk of them being the best offensive line. And I think they showed tonight that they have a very, very high ceiling to be the best in the country, not just the best in the Big 12, but the best in the country.
Well, it's hard because you, as an opposing defense, you can go back and watch New Mexico film,
right,
to see a little bit of what Jason Beck or Dampier did last year, but having the personnel that he has at Utah right now,
it's very different from what you saw in New Mexico.
Right. As far as, talking about Wayshawn Parker and then Nakari Rogers, and then Smith Snowden, and you still have Dampier, but then you can even throw in the offensive line as another weapon that Jason Beck has to play with. Like, this line fits so well with Jason Beck's scheme because they are so athletic. They're huge. Spencer Fano is a monster, but he's so athletic that really allows you can still spread out, but trust these guys to get on their blocks or get back into the second level and tie up the linebackers. Because we saw so many runs already in this game. Dampier or Parker or Rogers, they could get through to the second level before they got touched, and then you see that goal line touchdown there in the fourth quarter, running it right behind Spencer Fano. You're going to see that a lot this year because he is a road grader, but he's just, this is special. This is so special.
I think we're starting to see, this is obviously the beginning of something that can be very, very special. As advertised, I can't say that enough. I can't stress that enough. That was Devin Dampier, Jason Beck. I think it's such a luxury and such a great thing for Utah that they were able to not only get the quarterback that had the fourth best offense in the country last season, but you also bring in the offensive coordinator. And I feel like that helps so much with implementing the new scheme, implementing the new way that this offense wants to approach the game. Right. I wonder if we're having a different conversation if maybe just Jason Beck came over, or maybe if it was just Devin Dampier. I think in order for this to be successful, and I think in order for the Utah offense to be successful, is you have to have both of them. And we saw what, you see the potential there. And it's something that I think all Utah fans should be very excited to see and to watch grow over the course of the season, because those two can have a very, very special year.
Getting some good reaction on social media. Let us know your thoughts on this Utah win over UCLA. We're live on YouTube. We're live on X. We're live on Instagram. Whenever you leave a comment there, it pops up on our chat box here. So we'd love to be able to get to your reaction and what you have to say about this game, because it really feels like, Alex, like the blind man can see now, like when's the last time Utah had 20 points at halftime? When's the last time yada, yada, yada? You can go on and on, but overall, it was just such a complete game from the offensive side. Efficient, again, to go back to that word, 400 yards, and they actually ran a lot of plays. They had 54 carries and 26 passing attempts. So that's 80. They ran 80 plays. And again, that's what you do. You're not going out there and looking for chunk plays. You are just getting 3, 4, 5 yards a pop over and over and over again, wearing down the opposing team's defense, running down the clock. And then that allows your Utah defense to come in and do what they do best. And we'll talk Utah defense here in a little bit because we've got a lot to say about them too. But man, it was just crazy. We got some more comments. I want to read them real quick. Cam Bingham, give Jason Beck a raise.
He just got here. He just got his raise.
give it to him again. He deserves another raise. Tim Heaton. Don't forget Ryan Davis and Rogers from New Mexico too. Yeah, we talked about them a little bit earlier. I mean, they had 4, 3 players and a coordinator. They had 4 people come over from New Mexico. And so that helps when you've got a lot of people familiar with the scheme. And, Beck has a lot of toys to play with.
I think also, Christian, what stood out to me, it was one of our keys earlier from our College Football Saturday, from when we were talking Utah, was the turnover battle, right? Was Utah going to win this turnover battle against UCLA? Utah comes out with a clean slate. Yes, there was the fumble from Wayshawn Parker, but you're able to to keep that and recover it. You get your INT, you win the turnover battle, and it's great to see Utah with a 0 on the turnover board, because that was a huge problem last season.
Yeah,
it was ball security was a big problem last season. So I think Kyle Whittingham right now is the happiest man to see a 0 next to that turnover number.
Well, and that was a question with Dampier too. The 12 touchdowns, 12 interceptions last year, the 1-to-1 turnover, touchdown to turnover ratio, right? That was something that everybody knew he needed to improve. And you're only 1 game in, but he threw 2 picks in the season opener last year for New Mexico. So 1 game in and you're looking good there. And you're right. It came later in the game than I'm sure they were hoping. I mean, they had some turnovers on downs, and that counts as a turnover in my book, right? But yeah, you had to pick late in that game, and I just know Kyle Whittingham is smiling from ear to ear. I mean, I saw so many people smiling from ear to ear. I mean, Dampier had a big smile on his face. All these guys did. You know who else had a smile on his face that I loved seeing? It was our guy Steve Bartle.
Yes,
Steve is currently tuning into the post game presser from Kyle Whittingham, but he put a video out at halftime, kind of recapping the first half, and he's talking about Utah's offense, and you could just tell like he's trying his hardest to not have the biggest smile on his face, because Utah this is not something that we've seen. And I don't know if this is sustainable across a 12-game season, especially once you get into Big 12 play, but my gosh, for a week 1 game, open the season, talk about a way to get your fans ready to go for the year. I mean, this was great.
I think, coming into this one, you had to pass the eye test. You had to pass, you had to look efficient, and you had to look good winning. And I think, obviously, we saw that tonight with Utah. Devin Dampier in this offense looked efficient. punting once this game is I think is absolutely incredible. Feel bad for the punter, didn't get too much time out there, but again, if you're Jason Beck, you're absolutely happy that you only had to see your punt team go out there once. Special teams, you got the kicker coming out and breaking records for true freshman kickers. I think that's also a big positive. Special teams has always been a calling card for Kyle Whittingham, and so you want special teams to continue to be successful under Kyle Whittingham. And so as efficient and as great as Utah is, the ceiling is there, the potential is there. You hope that they can just continue to work at it, and hopefully, I think heading into a Cal Poly game next week makes it a little bit easier to kind of fine tune it and adjust things a little bit as you need. But as teams get more and more film on this offense, you're going to have to continue to figure out ways to stay creative and move the ball the way that you did as teams continue to break you down and figure you out.
I want to give a shout out to Dylan Curtis. First touchdown of the game. Obviously, you missed the extra point, and that's tough. But then you make 4 more the rest of the game, and then you bring up the 54-yard field goal. That was awesome. And as a freshman, missing your first kick, missing your first extra point, it's really easy to get in your head, to beat yourself up. Kickers are weird, confidence is 90% of the kicking game. So shout out to him to come in and do that. I wonder, Alex, if they're thinking about going for it on 4th down or kicking the field goal there. I wonder if somebody was like, "Hey, Kyle, they kicked a 56-yard field goal down in Provo. We should probably try this 54-yarder."
And I think it's honestly, I think it's honestly just as impressive from what we saw down there in Provo to what you see with Dylan Curtis, because he's a freshman, man. This is his first college game.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's never easy for a true freshman to go in there. You have these massive defensive linemen running at you, right, to block that kick. But he said, calm, cool, composed, and he has the leg to put it through. And it's great to see, again, a freshman coming in as a kicker to make that play, man.
He's from Murray High School, and they're playing at sea level. They're playing in Los Angeles. So that makes a big difference. Growing up in Utah, kicking at altitude, obviously you're practicing all summer during camp, kicking at altitude. Then first game of the year, you go down to sea level. That makes a big difference, and the ball's not going to go as far. So to make a 54-yard field goal as your first attempt as a true freshman, again, at sea level, that's impressive. So I wonder.
But now the bar is high for him.
Now the bar is high, and
Bar's
again,
high.
BYU made a 56-yarder. So I wonder what sort of distance Dylan Curtis has. That's great.
Dylan Curtis was great. And I think the biggest thing was the Utes missed that first PAT. Right, they're up only by 6, which is fine because you come back later. And you stay composed and you're able to make that. So I think that's huge.
Man, a lot of fun. Everybody's all smiles, Alex. It's a great day to be a Utah fan, I would presume. They're going crazy. I can hear parades.
I don't know. I don't know how to react, man. After last season, I'm happy for Kyle Whittingham, man. I'm happy for this offense that they're able to be efficient this game. I think that's the most important thing. They were balanced, they were efficient, then they scored a lot of points, and that's just something you didn't see last season for Utah.
Get used to it. We got to take a break. We are live on YouTube, on X, on Facebook. We're also live on the radio, so we got to take a quick break. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. Coming up on the other side, got to talk about this Utah defense because they played lights out as well. They took care of business, holding UCLA to 10 points. So be back in a quick 3 minutes, and we'll talk Utah defense next. This is the Ute Postgame Show, brought to you by KSL Sports. Welcome back, everybody. Your Ute Postgame Show, brought to you by KSL Sports. We're also live on the radio, 97.5, 1280 The Zone. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles, breaking down this huge 43-10 Utah win over UCLA to start out the season at the Rose Bowl. Alex, not only did Utah score 43 points, they hold UCLA and Nico Iamaleava to 10. This defense was, we knew the defense was going to be good coming in, right? Were you shocked that they only allowed 10 points?
No, I think that's probably about where I had them, even before coming into this game. Because you hear it all off season long, right? The Utah defense, you know what they are, you know who they are, you know they're going to be good. And I think tonight you go out and you prove that. I think, first game for Nico Iamaleava, I'm sure there was some growing pains there. I'm sure there were still, trying to figure out some chemistry between him and some of his guys. But the reality is Nico Iamaleava is a phenomenal quarterback who has the potential to create by himself. And I think Utah did a great job of containing him. There was a couple of missed tackles here and there, but for the most part, you did a phenomenal job containing Nico, and you put the pressure on him, man. 4 sacks getting into Nico. I think that's this is the best way to start if you're Utah's defense.
I can't wait to talk about the sacks. Do got to talk about Nico. First half especially, there were some missed tackles, especially when he would take off. He's a big dude, right? He's like 6'6", 240. Kyle Whittingham compared him to Cam Newton earlier in the week. So him saying that, that he thinks he's a special player, right? Witt is very selective about who he compliments. So him to compare Nico to a player of Cam Newton's caliber, that he's been telling these guys to be ready all week. And sometimes it takes a little bit of football to really, feel that hit and be like, oh, yeah, this dude's a tank. So I think they had a little bit of that going on. But through the air, they 11 of 22 for 136 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. That's what Nico finished with. And seems like Utah had his number, man. He really struggled. And I think the biggest thing is the completion percentage, 50%. Yeah. You're going to win a lot of games if you're holding the other quarterback to 50% completion percentage.
Well, and then we talked a lot about how efficient Utah's offense was. And I think UCLA was the polar opposite. They were not efficient. You look at the third down conversion, they went 2 for 11 on third downs. They were not good at converting those third downs. I think some of those credit to Utah's defense, and some of those it was just miscues and unfortunate plays by Nico that he couldn't find his receiver or whatever the case was, right? But I still think a lot of credit goes to Utah for holding them to be, inefficient, right? Utah was efficient, UCLA was not. Nico Iamaleava, I think there was a lot of high expectations coming into this one. I think, like I said, there was going to be a lot of eyes on this game because people wanted to watch Nico. But the reality is Devin Dampier came in and stole the show.
Interesting note here, both quarterbacks led their teams in rush yards. Dampier, of course, with 87 for the Utes, and then Nico with 47 for UCLA. Utah had almost 500 total yards of offense, 492 there. And then UCLA just 220 total yards of offense. But Alex, I got to talk about, there's a player I have been stoked to talk about, and that's Logan Fano. He tore his ACL, what would have been 2023, I guess, a few games into that season. And that was just a blow. And that was it feels to me like that was the first of like all of these injuries stacking up over those 2 seasons for the Utes. Am I wrong there? Cam Rising missed that entire season anyways, but it just felt like the Logan Fano injury, and maybe that's just my perspective, but
maybe even I think there was an injury in there too to Jonah Ellis.
It could have been
that kind of happened at about around the same time.
But regardless, so he misses most of 2023, and then 2024 he comes back and he played in, I think, of all of the games. But clearly, it takes, even if you're on the field, it takes a while to come back from an injury like that. And then you see towards the end of last season, he finished really strong. He had a tackle for loss in each of the final 4 games for Utah, but I had huge expectations for him coming in, and he answered the bell tonight. I thought he had 2 sacks on his own, but he had a sack and 2 tackles for loss. But even without the multiple sacks, it felt like he was just all over. And John Henry Daly as well. There was a nice sequence where he got the sack, and then the very next play he was right at Nico's face and basically forced the interception. Right. So
Right.
Logan Fano, John Henry Daly, and that Utah defense. I mean, look out, man, because when they are able to have an offense that supports them and allows them to be fully rested, and they are able to stay healthy on their own end, they can be scary.
Oh yeah. I think one of the biggest questions for me coming in on the defensive side of the ball for Utah into this season was going to be that D line. You lose your 2 interiors, right? You lose Tanuvasa to the transfer portal, and then Junior Tafuna. It's a young defensive line, but I think that they answered the bell today. I definitely did not expect, or definitely didn't have on my bingo card, John Henry Daly having 2 sacks in the first game, but I'm glad that he did, because he's one of the guys that Utah needs to step up in order to continue to be dominant on the defensive line. Phenomenal start for the Utah D line. And Logan Fano is the heart and soul of that D line. He's the leader of that D line, and I think that the defensive line is going to go as far as Logan Fano takes you. And I think both him and John Henry Daly are off to phenomenal starts.
Leonard Barton led the team in tackles. He had 7 to go along with his touchdown that he scored on offense, so that was great. Fano also defended a pass, which was great. It's just the Utah defense that we're so used to, right? But it just feels like they have more energy because of that offense on the other side of the ball. And it's clear as day. I mean, you can dang near feel it through the screen. Like, these guys are pumped. They're like, man, we have an offense. So that's great. And if these 2 units continue to play at this level throughout the season, the sky's the limit for the Utah Utes. I think that is the big takeaway from this game, is that the potential is there for this to be a really special team. Maybe you just severely outclass UCLA. We'll see in a few weeks when they start conference play, but the Utah offense looked legit, and the defense is legit, and they can get it done.
I think one of the names that we're glossing over and not really talking about is Levani Damuni, who last season, unfortunately, he had to miss out the entire season due to an injury. They lost him. I can't remember if it was spring or fall camp, but
it was fall camp. Yeah,
and he didn't play the entire year. And I think there was a lot of excitement about that linebacker room last season, right? To have Damuni, to have Barton, and to have Karen Reed. There was a lot of hype between those 3, but you lose one of those early, and then obviously Leonard Barton dealt with his injuries throughout the course of the season. Karen Reed dealt with his injuries throughout the course of the season, and so it felt like that linebacker room never really hit the height that I think that the Utah fans thought that they could hit. And so I'm excited that Damuni is back for this season. And I think that his presence alone in the middle there with the linebackers, it adds a whole nother layer to this Utah defense. And I think that he's just one of those guys that, as he's getting his feet under him, and as he gets used to playing football again, I think he's a guy that's kind of flying under the radar to have a big year on that for the Utah defense.
Yeah. No, it's great to have him back. And he's a guy that, I mean, this team is full of guys that have been in this program for a long time. And that's why it feels like everything is kind of coming together for maybe potentially one last hurrah for Kyle Whittingham. So we'll see there. But speaking of Whittingham, let's get to him. We have the post-game audio from Kyle Whittingham taking the podium after the 43-10 victory over UCLA. This is what Coach Witt had to say.
The season. Proud of the way the guys played. Offense seemed to be in a rhythm from drive 1 to the end of the game. They stayed in that rhythm. Thought Devin did a great job running the offense. Made great decisions. You saw his playmaking ability. Did a great job taking care of the football. Did a great job distributing the football. Kept it when needed to keep it. Thought the defensive guys that played both ways were a big shot in the arm for the offense. And created some really good things, good gains. Third down was incredible. I think we were 14 out of 16 on third down. That's off the charts. I've probably never been involved in a game where we've had that many third down opportunities and converted that high a percentage. So that was a huge part of the success. Obviously ran the ball well and close to 300 yards. And everything I just said doesn't happen unless your offensive line plays outstanding. So great credit, great tribute to that O-line. Those guys are a big physical group. They were as advertised tonight, and we just got to keep on that trajectory and keep working hard. Like I said, I'm proud of them, but that's only one. But it's a heck of a start to the season. Going to a Big Ten stadium and to get a win that's decisive is a very positive way to start. So, questions?
Kyle, obviously, you talked about having Smith and Lander and all these other defensive guys kind of playing on the other side. Do you expect to have Smith, for example, that much, or is it just kind of carrying the hot hand?
No, that's about the dose that he's been getting the ball in practice. Same with Lander. Jackson Benny had been a little more involved in practice. Wasn't as involved tonight as he may be down the road. But those three guys, we got them all on pitch counts and making sure that we don't overdo it. And we're not really sure what that pitch count number is right now. We're just going to play it by ear as we go through the season. I think we'll be able to settle on what a realistic workload is for them. That will also include monitoring and adjusting practice during the week. We got to make sure guys playing 100-plus snaps a week, we got to do something during the week to preserve them. And so that's still a work in progress. We've talked with Colorado guys about Travis Hunter extensively, but he's a special guy. I mean, Travis Hunter, there's maybe no one like him in the country, so you can't just model it after that. But those guys definitely added to what we were doing on offense tonight.
Coach, how would you assess Devin Dampier in terms of his ability to manage the pocket and execute in the passing game?
Outstanding. I don't know what his numbers were in the throw game. We didn't have a ton of yards, a couple hundred. 200 yards, and he was 21 or 26. And you talk about a guy that really has worked hard in the offseason, because we knew when we took him out of New Mexico, 57% completion percentage needed to improve. The touchdown to interception ratio needed to improve, and at least tonight that did improve. So that was great to see.
Kyle Liner compared Devin to Kyler Murray, just obviously a high winner. I mean,
yeah.
Just what is your reaction to that comment, and how special?
Well, that's a heck of a comparison, and I got a lot of respect for Matt Liner. So coming from him, that means something. But Devin, he's electric. He's a highlight film waiting to happen. You saw him get out of some of those jams. Needs to be a little more judicious at times. There was a couple times he needed to get down, and so we'll continue to preach that. But his game resembles Kyler Murray's a lot. He's not, Kyler Murray's obviously a terrific quarterback, but Devin right now for us is doing a great job.
How would you assess the youth at defensive line and how they performed tonight?
Very well. You said youth, right? Youth, yeah, very well. Aliki Vimahi's our one elder statesman up front at the tackle spot on the interior. Dallas played a lot for us last year, but he was just off a mission. You see a new Dallas this year. He's a whole different guy. He got a little banged up, wasn't able to finish, but we're really excited about Jonah Lea'ea. Pupu, still not real good at pronouncing his last name. I'll keep working on it, but he's going to be a beast. And Carson Kafusi. So got a lot of good young tackles in the program right now on the edge. I thought we had good pressure out of John Henry Daly, out of Logan Fano, Cash Dillon, Lance Holtzclaw, and Paul Fitzgerald. They all played. They all got reps.
How would you assess the defense as a whole?
Very good. And what were the numbers? It was under 250, I believe. 220 total low. They only had to play 50 snaps. And that's because they played third down exceptionally well. UCLA was only 2 of 11 on third down. So, again, we dominated third down on both sides of the ball. Which,
54-yard field goal.
Yeah, the kid's got a strong leg. Like I've been saying, he's still figuring out Division I football and the bright lights and the crowd. You didn't see his capabilities in kickoff like we see in practice. Now, I know it's sea level here. It's not going to be as noticeable, but he's got a lot more in the tank than what you saw tonight, particularly on kickoffs. I would rate his first performance an A+. The flow of the game, the calls, had him off balance. Thought the run-pass ratio was outstanding. The RPO facet that he brought and implemented. He's just a masterful play caller. At least he has been, and he was tonight. So I hope it doesn't change. I hope he continues down that road.
Kyle, you focused and said Devin is a special talent dating back to the spring. Obviously, he's flown under the radar in New Mexico, three-star recruit. What do you think this kind of performance does for him in terms of how people recognize his game and put him on a national level?
Yeah, well, he had to draw the attention of some people tonight. The Matt Leinart comment is, that's a start right there. But Devin Dampier is a competitive kid. He's a hard worker. He's humble. He understands that he just needs to keep getting better and better. And he's a guy that the players love. They've just embraced him, and that's huge when your quarterback is thought of as he is. And not that other ones haven't been here, but they really seem to have taken a liking to him.
Kyle, you obviously went up tempo today on offense, but you also had that drive. It was 20 plays.
21 plays. 21 plays, 10 minutes.
What does that do for your team to be able to have that kind of variation?
Well, first of all, again, that kind of drive doesn't happen without a front that's dominating. And our front really took control of that drive. They had control the whole night. But that's a statement drive, saying, hey, we can lean on you and impose our will if we want. And that was great to see.
Walk me through, I guess, Smith's kind of transition into a two-way role. Do you expect him to play more wide receiver than defense this season, or is it kind of up in the air and just kind of how the game plan goes?
It's a work in progress, but to me it was a no-brainer. Smith's at the point as a defender where he's mastered, not to say he will never get beat or anything like that, but he's mastered his assignments, he's mastered his techniques, his fundamentals, and once that happens, and he was a special offensive player in high school, and so I thought, what the heck, we got to utilize all our resources and put it to Coach Scally first, and he said great, he was on board, and Jason was excited to get him, and so that's how it evolved.
There you go. That's Kyle Whittingham and his thoughts after a 43-10 win over UCLA. I'd imagine Alex smiling ear to ear as he's joining us from a rave, I presume. Oh, I muted you by accident. I'm sorry, dude.
No, you're good, man. It sounded like he was smiling through the microphone, man. It sounded like he's impressed. He's happy. And he's just like every Utah fan out there right now. He's excited to see how far this offense can go. A complete 180 from what happened last season. You can hear it in his voice. He's happy with the way things turned out tonight. I love his comments about Smith Snowden and trying to get him more involved into the offense, right? It's something that we talked about earlier on one of our Saturday shows, is the fact that throughout the course of the last couple of years, you've had guys like Sione Vake who would come in and play both ways and have found success. And I think that you have your next guy in Smith Snowden. So I'm curious to see how he continues to be integrated into this offense.
Yeah, and he did bring up there's a pitch count. They're not quite sure what that number is, but we saw today he had around 20 offensive snaps maybe, and then maybe less than 15 on defense. So we'll wait those official numbers, but it's going to be a big storyline this year. But it sounds like he is going to be a key piece of this offense for the Utes. We got to take a quick break. We are live on YouTube, X, Facebook, and 97.5 and 1280 KSL Sports Zone. So got to fit a quick break in. We will be right back in about 3 minutes. We will wrap up this post-game show. Also let you hear from Smith Snowden and Devin Dampier. That's all coming up next. Stay with us. It's the Ute post-game show, KSL Sports. Welcome back to your Ute Postgame Show. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles with me as we wrap up the night. 43-10 victory for the Utah Utes over UCLA. And Alex, we've spent so much time talking about just what an impressive performance it was from Utah. Last segment we heard from Kyle Whittingham. We're going to hear from Smith Snowden and Devin Dampier coming up in just a little bit. I had a quick note, though, I wanted to share. This was a big win for Utah, but not only for Utah, it was a big win for the Big 12 Conference. It is the first win over a P4 opponent by a Big 12 school. Obviously, Iowa State beat Kansas State, but that's somebody had to win that game. That's a conference game. So I'm looking at non-conference games, right? All of the other Big 12 schools lost to P4 opponents.
Ooh, not a good showing this weekend.
For Utah, I mean, that helps them stand out. So
yeah, not a good showing this weekend from the Big 12. But some, we've talked about, and I mean, we've talked about how a team from the Big 12 needs to emerge as being the team to beat, as being the program to beat. Last season, it was unbeknownst to everybody, Arizona State, and then this season, we're trying to figure out who that's going to be. And I think, considering the fact that you have Baylor, who lost to Auburn, Colorado, who lost to Georgia Tech, right? All these Big 12s, it wasn't a great showing for the Big 12 in week one. That's the reality of it. But glad and happy, and I'm sure Utah fans going to be happy that Utah was able to get there.
I'm sure Utah fans are going to be happy. Yeah, it was great showing, and they caught a lot of eyeballs tonight. That's for sure, around the country.
Yes.
I mean, even just scrolling through social media on the breaks, I'm seeing tons of posts about Utah's big win at the Rose Bowl and all this. So they caught national attention, and that's what happens. Unfortunately, most of the time, a 9 p.m. 8 p.m. California time game, right? Not a lot of people are going to tune into that game nationally, but then you see people see the score and it's like, okay, we got to check in there. But speaking of the score, one thing you wanted to bring up, Alex, is a backup quarterback, because that's something that had kind of been a question. Was it going to be Isaac Wilson? Obviously, he was the starter for most of last year. So would he be the backup in his second year here with the program, or was it going to be Bird Ficklin, the freshman? And when they pulled the starters, it was Bird Ficklin. And it makes sense to me, because looking at his skill set, he is very similar to Devin Dampier as far as being a mobile quarterback, and he fits what the offense was already doing. And Isaac Wilson can move, but he's not a running quarterback, So you got any thoughts on Bird Ficklin?
Great opportunity for the true freshman, right, to come in. It is garbage time, but he did have a couple of good runs before Utah need out the remainder of the clock. But from the limited film that I've been able to see from Bird Ficklin, and from the limited information that I've been able to gather about Bird Ficklin, is he is very similar to the skill set of Devin Dampier, and plays very similar to Devin, and seems like he would be a great fit in Jason Beck's offense. And so he's one of those guys that I think if he has some continuity here in Utah and can stick around for a while, I could see potential of there being a high ceiling there for Bird Ficklin.
Yeah, and I would assume there's a plan for Isaac Wilson. That's why they brought him back, right? So I'm curious to see what that plan is, and we'll see. But right now, I mean, it's Devin Dampier at quarterback, so we got to hear from him. He and Smith Snowden took the podium. Before we get to that, though, I do want to mention, again, we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. We're not doing phone calls for the post-game shows anymore, but we'd love to get your reaction still. So tweet at us, tweet at the KSL Sports account, tweet at C Esparza Sports, at Napoles Alex. Let us know your thoughts. We'd love to involve you guys in the post-game show, get some of your thoughts, get some of your reactions. So please hit us up on social media, and we'll get to that. But let's head to the podium. This was Devin Dampier and Smith Snowden taking the podium earlier today after the win.
Ute jersey, it means a lot to this program to be a Ute. So just to be out there with my boys, it was great. I mean, I felt like we were clicking on all cylinders today. We played football at our best today, and continue to stack the days. There's a lot we can learn from and continue to get better.
So what were your expectations coming into this game about how much you were going to play on offense?
I had an idea, so it was nice that I had an idea of what it was going to look like, but it's like that's where most of my pregame butterflies came from, was just knowing that I'm going to go out there and play some offense. But feel me, offense went out there, took care of business. It was just a great team win.
Devin, what kind of message do you feel like you made with the way that you guys performed with the run game specifically?
Yeah, I mean, again, we've been talking about our O-line all preseason, and, I think they showed it more than I did. Obviously those holes are there, and regardless of who's running that ball, we're going to get the first down. So I think we showed that, we can be very capable of being consistent running the ball.
Devin, obviously, this seems like a statement game from you. Just what was your mentality walking into this game? Obviously, knowing the preseason hype around you, and for Smith, I mean, just what would you see from Devin just in those moments in the huddle?
Yeah, just to start off, I mean, my personal goal was to come in here and just, let's show that Utah can score on offense too. That was the biggest thing just talked about last year. So, we made it an emphasis that, we're going to play all 4 quarters and we're going to put points on the board. So just for us to do that on our side was great.
Did you run as much as you thought you were? It looked like you were looking to try to get the ball through the air, but maybe had a couple opportunities to run.
Yeah, I play to win. I tell everyone, that's if the situation comes where I got to run the ball, I'm gonna run the ball, and I'm gonna do what I got to do for my boys.
But did you want to make sure that you were throwing it more this game as opposed to maybe running it as much as you did last year?
Yeah, there was no emphasis on it. Whatever was called, I took what the defense gave me.
Devin, how much of an adjustment has it been for you going from last year's experience behind the offensive line, the pressure you faced, to this one where you have a lot of time in the pocket? What has that adjustment been for you and how you execute and operate?
Yeah, I think just the way I'm able to stay in the pocket. A lot of people say there's a 3-second rule for a quarterback. You take about 3 seconds, you should be having to scramble. And with our offense, I'm able to chill back there and find a receiver. And so, I mean, yeah, it's a little adjustment for sure.
How would you say the defensive performance was today?
The defensive performance was great, honestly. There's obviously plays you want to clean up, plays that you wish you could get back, but I think overall, I think we had a great day. There's some tackles that we could have made, but other than that, I think it was a really great game one, a game to kind of make a statement, kind of show people who we are and what this team is about.
Devin, Matt Miner compared you to Kyler Murray on social media. To get that kind of attention, obviously you were under-recruited in your career. I mean, what does it mean for you to kind of get that comparison so early on in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome for sure, but what happens in our building, that's the opinion I care about, how my boys view me, just as a leader and how I am on that field. So, but I love that. That's awesome.
And Smith, just walk me through, I guess, Devin's mentality heading into this weekend. Just what makes him such a special athlete or leader?
Yeah, no, Devin's he's a commander of the offense and of this team, really. I was telling him before the game that we're going to rally behind you, Dev, and that's exactly what he did. He went out there, showed out, did his thing, and took care of business.
The same for Smith. That's why we got him on offense. I mean, you see it. When the ball's in his hands, he's able to make plays. So for a player to play defense and offense, huge kudos to him.
Did you get tired out there at all?
A little bit, but it's nothing. You feel me? Shake back.
Smith, you were obviously a part of the last Pac-12 team. UCLA was kind of one of the ones that blew up the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
How does something like this feel here in this big one?
Oh yeah, this feels great. This feels great to come out here and just handle business. I know the last couple of games that we've been to the Rose Bowl wasn't the outcome that we wanted to, so to walk out with a victory, it's big.
Smith and Devin, obviously, Devin, you weren't a part of last year's team, but I'm sure you've gotten a sense of just how this team's wanted to rebound. How did you guys approach this game? Did you guys view it as a statement of like that season's gone? Walk me through that mentality.
Yeah, no, this game was a statement game for sure. I think everyone on the team had a good idea that it was a statement game and that we wanted to show the nation what this team is about and just take care of business.
Yep, and I mean, we kind of had one of our meetings at the end of practice. We made a big emphasis that last year was last year. It's time to move on, and I mean, we came out here and. Big mentality was a win for sure. Old man Jaron Compton, he told me, he lost a couple times here, so I made sure, I was like, I got you one. I got you one.
There you go. That is Smith Snowden and Devin Dampier. Devin Dampier says all of the right things, man. He is special.
He absolutely does. He's the embodiment of a leader. He's come in, and I feel like you can already feel the change in the culture and change in the vibe that he's been able to bring, even in just the short amount of time that he's been here.
Yeah.
And I think Smith Snowden put it best. That was a statement win, and Utah went out, made a statement. It's a 43-10 statement, and now I'm excited to see, how you're able to navigate the rest of your out of conference. You have an FCS team at home next week in Cal Poly. Then you head on the road to Laramie before you really dive into Big 12 play. And when you dive into Big 12 play, man, it's right out of the gates. You're getting one of the contenders and probably one of the better teams in Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited to see how they're able to continue to build on this statement win and continue to make statements as the season goes on.
Yeah. How about our guy PK bringing the heat on his questions?
PK always
grilling Devin Dampier.
PK always asks the right things, man.
I did he asked Smith Snowden if he got tired, and Smith paused and he's like, yeah, but that's football. So that is, I think, after game one, looking ahead over the next few games, that's going to be the storyline that I'm most focused on, that I can't wait to see what the result is how big of a role does Smith Snowden play on offense and on defense? Because, I mean, Kyle Whittingham again compared to Travis Hunter, and he backpedaled a bit and said, look, Travis Hunter was one of one. He was a special player. Nobody's ever done that before. It's probably going to be a long time before anybody does that again. But he envisions a big role for Smith Snowden on both sides of the football, and he's a big leader on this team. He's been there for a long time. This is his third year with the program, so he's ready to win, and he's hungry because they have not won since he's been there. So this is it, man. Everything's coming together for this Utah team. Like, it truly does feel like a last dance sort of thing, and it's going to be a fun season, man. This was a great game to start off the year for the Utes.
Great way to start the year, and I think just as important as getting the win, right? You pass the eye test looking well on offense, and you leave the Rose Bowl healthy. Right.
Yes.
There wasn't anything major, anything crazy that I think, Utah fans had to keep an eye on. And so I think for the most part, if you're able to leave this game healthy and you're able to move on to the next, it's a massive, massive win.
Yeah. All right. Kickoff next week at home at Rice-Eccles Stadium. A little bit of an earlier game, Alex. It's at 4 p.m., a cool 4 p.m. It's probably going to be hot, but would you rather play in the heat or the late night?
Well, considering it's 1:21 in the morning right now, and I'm about ready for bed, I'll take a 4 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, we will see how the Utah Utes look at home. Catch us again next week. This was fun. Today we have, of course, College Football Saturday. Every Saturday morning from 10 to 12, we do a BYU hour and then a Utah hour, and that's going to serve as our pregame shows this year. And then every week post-game, we're going to be here live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, KSLSports.com, also on the radio, 97.5, 1280. So you can find us anywhere every single week. And we want to know your takes. You can hear our takes, and buckle up, because it's going to be a season, man. It's gonna be a season.
Week 1 in the books, and every team in the state of Utah is 1-0.
There we go.
Great way to start the football season.
You love it. You love it. Awesome. For Alex Napoles, I'm Christian Esparza. Thank you for tuning in. This has been your Ute Postgame Show on the KSL Sports Zone.